Well, welcome to the Graveyard Shift, a podcast where you can walk away with some ideas and some inspiration about improving your funeral home's operations. And we're going to help you connect with more families with your business. And as always, this podcast is the Graveyard Shift is brought to you by Passari. So my name is Todd Carlson, and I'm the Chief Sales Officer with Directors Investment Group and our family of companies, which includes Passari Funeral Directors Life and Claim Check. As usual, we have our talented, and we'll use air quotes for that, our talented crew here with us again. We've got Matt Bailey from Bailey Family Funeral Homes up in Connecticut. Got Gary Freitag with us from Spring Grove Funeral Homes and Cemeteries, and just Spring Grove. I think you're big time now, Gary, right? It's just Spring Grove.
Yeah, don't share.
Yeah, exactly. Spring Grove in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then we've got Jimmy Lucas with us here with Lucas Family Funerals and Cremations right here in my current home state of Texas. So, hey, before we get started, I just want to remind our viewers and our listeners that we love it if you would provide feedback to us. You can email those thoughts and comments to the Graveyard Shift at passari.com. And we'd encourage you to like and share and subscribe this podcast or share the web link when we publish that. And as usual, we'll take your positive feedback at thegraveyardshift.com. Negative feedback, just text Matt on his cell phone. He'll be happy to respond to you with all kinds of kindness and no sarcasm. Right, Matt?
Absolutely.
All right. So, which was funny. That was sarcasm. So I saw the sarcasm emoji pop up. So. All right. Well, hey, just to, we always start off by saying this, but it's just really hard right now to be a funeral professional, right? Things have changed. We were in a very fluid landscape with funeral service, and it's been changed, has been fairly creeping up on us now and happening for maybe 15, 20 years pretty steadily. And so we want to talk a little bit today about marketing and how marketing your business needs to adapt and evolve. And kind of the premise is if the funeral consumer's changed, then I guess we have to maybe think about updating our marketing approach, right? So we'd like to spend a little bit of time here talking about that. And because I think with all these changes, my premise is that if you think back in your mortuary science education, how much time did you guys spend on websites or Facebook or, what an appropriate marketing budget should be, all the audio visual, the world has really changed, and we're in the midst of navigating this change right now, live and in person. So I just wanted to start off and throw this one out. Matt, we're gonna start with you, and just kind of give us your perspective on why funeral home marketing your funeral home it matters. Why are we even talking about it? It doesn't. Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining into the Graveyard.
That was a great show, by the way, guys. Nailed it.
No, I think every company has a story to tell, and identifying who you are and I believe offering differentiation. The consumer often, I think, believes that all funeral homes are the same. They think if they just drive down the street and they pass 5 of them, they don't think it makes a difference between one versus the other, except maybe the ethnic background of the surname on the sign, which matters less today than maybe it mattered 75 years ago. But if you're a firm that is doing things that's more progressive than others in your market, if you have features or unique things that make you unique, I think about us. We have a therapy dog. We have a motorcycle hearse. We were the first to work with parting stones. So, when we had things like that were coming in, we'd want to let people know about it. We've done a lot embracing celebrant services. We want to make sure people understand what that is. So we're looking at it as a way to educate people and help them realize that if they want something different or there's other options out there that maybe they never even considered before, that we're the firm for them.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Gary, what are your thoughts on the marketing and just kind of the big picture purpose of marketing?
Well, I would say first and foremost, giving the consumer a framework, or at least allaying some of their fears, because no one shops for the products we sell, right? Somebody has to be sick or passed away. So the consumer about the products and services we offer is fundamentally ignorant. So taking some of the edge off of here's what we are, here's what we do before they come into an arrangement conference is important. I can tell you marketing for us has been a real challenge because Spring Grove is so many different things to different people. We're a National Historic Landmark. We're a Level 3 Arboretum. We do 250 tours a year. We get around 10,000 cars per month that come through the gates of Spring Grove. And so it's hard to focus a website because of the nature of how people are going there. And we've really struggled with that, but we've tried to, the overall message is whatever service or product that you want in terms of end-of-life services, Spring Grove can provide, from the least expensive disposition all the way to customized funeral services or private mausolea or all of that stuff, that regardless of what you're looking for or what your family traditions are, we can supply that. So that's sort of the overriding message that you'll get going to the Spring Grove website.
Yeah, well, awesome. Yeah, and so we got differentiation and then availability. What's available? Those concepts. So, Jimmy, what would you add to it from your perspective?
For us, I believe our only call to action in funeral service is pre-planning. So we spend an awful lot of time on the value and importance of taking away that emotional overspending and that best last gift. We just had our digital marketer here for 2 days going over what our marketing efforts are, whether it's old school, going to the church functions, getting to know the church community, the local Lions Club, the local Rotary Club. We spend a lot of time with hospices, and one of the things that really resonates with hospices, because in our market, the DFW market, it is one of the most competitive hospice markets in the United States. There's 250 plus hospices. And so that conversation of, not all hospices are created equal. You should know that not all funeral homes are created equal. And so that resonates with a caretaker, social workers. And so we spend a lot of time on bringing those two pieces together, humanizing that, and then talking about how we can work together for a seamless transition of care from hospice into our care. And then same on the digital marketing side. If you're not paying for pay-per-click and other things and trying to keep up with your SEO and SEM, you're going to fall way behind. I just read in the Harvard Business Journal, not really, but I read it somewhere else, that more people, specifically the younger generation, is not going to Google. They're going to AI to do their searches. And so that's the next level of what are we doing with our digital marketing efforts to make us relevant and put us at the top of a page. So maybe we get a phone call. So maybe we have an opportunity to speak to someone. So maybe we can get them in and maybe we can take care of them. It's a lot of work. In Tarrant County, where we are, there are 77 licensed funeral homes. That doesn't include Dallas. So there's a lot going on in making yourself relevant, making sure that you have a partnership with someone that is a good marketer that can help accentuate what you have to offer. Matt has a therapy dog. He has the Harley trike, and those are all great. So how do you layer those different things and different offerings and get it out in front of somebody, to Gary's point, to basically a community that really does not want to talk to you?
Yeah, because I think I heard this said a couple weeks ago. I was talking with a gentleman in funeral service, and he said that the challenges that we face are it's a product or service that no one really wants to think about until they have to. So how do you stay top of mind, so when they need you, which could be years from now, they think of you first, right? And so whatever is differentiating or whatever that you're positioning your business around, that it's something that resonates with families, right? And Gary mentioned his challenges at Spring Grove, where so many different things resonate. And then how do you organize your marketing in a way that that provides clarity and resonates? So one thing we can kind of bridge over to is, if you recall the 2021 Passari Funeral Consumer Study, which is available for download at passari.com, just talk about how marketing, how the consumers change and how that needs to drive change in marketing. The 82% of consumers describe themselves as web savvy. You think about our buying market, 90% use social media and 92% have made a purchase online. So talk a little bit about, and Gary, we'll start with you. And you talked a little bit about Spring Grow's website, but how are you adjusting your marketing to deal with the digitization of the marketing?
Well, number one, we outsourced all that for somebody that really knows it because it's evolving very quickly. So for us to try to have an in-house person, we're a fairly significantly sized company, but it just didn't make any sense. You want somebody that's on the cutting edge, that knows how AI is going to affect all of this stuff. We're also trying to become more transparent, getting more pricing on the website because consumers want that. And I can tell you from our own market studies, the perception of Spring Grove is that we're too expensive, we're nearly full, and we only bury white people, none of which is true. Spring Grove still has 300 unused acres, which is more than most cemeteries start with. And our clientele on the funeral side matches exactly the underlying population. Cincinnati's not that diverse. It's 70% white, 25% black, and 5% everybody else. Hispanics, Asians, all that stuff. And our funeral clientele matches that, and our cemetery clientele is actually tilted more toward African American because they still bury at a much higher rate. So, getting rid of the perception that, oh yeah, it's a museum, it's not really an active cemetery. Or the other thing we get is, oh really, you have funeral homes? Well, we've only been in the funeral business since 2018. So. I'm sorry, 2008 is what I meant to say. And we're still getting rid of the perception that we're just a historic cemetery. So, and our major effort is really about educating the consumer what the new Spring Grove looks like, as opposed to what their parents knew 50 years ago when it was just a historic cemetery instead of an end-of-life services provider. So that's been really important to us, just educating the public.
Yeah, well, that's great. So, Matt, when you're thinking about how your marketing is adjusted over the years, I mean, what are some moves that you've made to kind of deal with these web savvy consumers that are out there?
I mean, I think social media is something that you go back 10 years even, and no one was really taking it seriously. Now you have to. That's where a lot of people are, and then they're finding you in your community. I mean, I'm sure if anyone that sits with a family at this point, when you're talking about print obituaries, we have Facebook. I mean, that's the reason why they don't see the need to put it in a print newspaper, because they're spending so much time on social media. So, making sure our content is speaking. And the nice thing about social media is you're also able to target people. So you could go based upon demographics, and you could have certain zip codes or certain mileage radiuses and certain ages. And there's a lot of information that we give social media companies about ourselves that make us easy to be marketed to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jimmy, what are your thoughts on all this?
Everything was very relevant. We've chosen to, when we advertise, everything is, our call to action is always pre-need, because it is the only thing that we can, quote, guarantee possibly sell to someone today. And that does two things. It keeps us relevant, keeps our brand relevant, and it's also solving an emotional problem, a financial problem in the future. And so everything we do is focused toward pre-planning and the importance of pre-planning. It does two things. When someone does have an immediate passing, our material's already out there, they've seen it, and or our goal is to help families in our community to put an intentional plan in place, all of them. That is our goal, 100% of them. We might not never get there, but that's our goal.
Yeah.
So,
Todd,
great goal.
One more comment on Facebook. We've used Facebook a lot to engage with people on a non-end of life services. So we do a lot of events, a lot of tours, and we used to print postcards and do mass mailings to let people know, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. We don't do any of that anymore. All of that is on Facebook, and we intersperse pre-need messages, periodically through there. The other thing we've had a lot of engagement with, which I was surprised, is we do a lot of employee profiles about, here's what this funeral director does, this is what their passions are, this is, whatever. And it really, in terms of the engagement and the click-throughs and things like that, it's really it's been surprising it's surprising to me, I guess, how effective that's been at sort of humanizing.
It totally humanizes that connection with the public, and we do the same thing, and I love it. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's perfect.
You start thinking about different marketing things that you're doing to get out in front of people in an authentic way, right? And I love that. We got a YouTube channel. So what the hell am I doing with a YouTube channel? So someone smarter than me is helping us with that. And we trademarked.
How did you find such a person?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
It's a 13-year-old kid that comes in and does all the stuff. But we trademarked. It's called Dying to Know, and it's we talk about pre-planning and the reasons to do that, and we've incorporated our staff to have those conversations on a video platform as part of our Facebook following and stuff. So, sorry, I totally took over.
Great.
Didn't mean to. I got really excited. Your handsome rooster there, Gary.
Yeah. So, hey, that conversation kind of it builds a nice bridge to a segment that I think is probably worth talking about, because I think a lot of funeral homes underestimate the power of this, but the use of video, right? And that's one thing, whether it be on a YouTube channel, your website, or Facebook. So, Matt, talk a little bit about how your funeral home has used video to be more engaging with families.
Well, I think we want to showcase who we are and what we offer. So whether it's facilities, whether it's like I mentioned, the motorcycle hearse, there's something more than when you just see the picture of it, to see it actually driving in a procession with a flag draped casket behind it. That really helps highlight what makes it special. And also, I think the ability to talk to the consumer. I mean, they could read our staff biographies online. They may or may not do that, but I think to get a sense of who a person is by hearing them talk in their own words and describe their personal why of, why they want to be in funeral service, of why they appreciate the option to serve families, telling their story. I think video's among the most powerful mediums we have. And the reality is that we're living in a society with shorter attention spans and people who are reading less. So are we really, I could offer you a free booklet that's 8 pages long and talks about the importance of something, or I could make a 90-second video on it and have it ready to go. Recently we had a situation where we had a tragedy in our state where we had a colleague of ours who was stealing pre-need funds. He's since lost his license, but there's a lot of people that don't understand trusting rules and how money has to be set aside and what that means. We fortunately had a video ready to go where we were talking about how that's handled and what our laws are in the state and what they should be able to see to verify that their funds are safe and how they do that. And when that bad news cycle hit, which is a black eye for everyone in our profession, we had video ready on standby to be able to educate the consumer and let them know how we operate and how that's different.
Yeah, that's important. So any comments, Gary? I know you guys have used some video at Spring Grove, and
we
try
have
to communicate with your video.
I think the most effective thing that we've done, other than the profiles we've been talking about, is a 30-second or minute video about the use of our event center, because that is relatively new and nobody else in our area has anything like it. And the two things: number one, it shows the size and scale of what we offer, the kind of event you can have, but also embedded in that is a bunch of suggestions about different things you could do at an after funeral reception, different food setups, different memorial areas that have themes to them. We incorporated that in the video to suggest to the consumer, hey, there's a lot of variability here as to what you can do, because their perception is that, oh, you can't do that at a funeral. I mean, like we also have, we now have our liquor license. So we incorporated a champagne toast in the video just to let people know that. And it's about raising the awareness of the consumer who doesn't necessarily know what we offer and doesn't have any interest in investigating that unless they have to. So, right, it's the we sell the only product that everyone has to buy and nobody wants to. So if you can embed in the video either the personalities as Matt was talking about, or some elements, in addition to showing off the facility, some elements of what is possible in an after funeral reception, I think that's been very effective and eye opening to the public.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
I would
Jimmy,
add,
what do you?
yeah, I would add family testimonials have been good for us.
Yeah.
And Rob from FDLSC, him and his team came out and did that for us. And those videos are online. And I think that shows families that we've served in a meaningful way. It gives comfort to those that are trying to make a choice. And so that's just one more thing to put out there. So there's a couple of different folks that do family testimonies. FDLSC, and Rob and his team did a great job for us. And sorry, I don't mean to plug, but I'll take $20 later for that, Rob. We use those videos pretty frequently. So
Awesome.
I would recommend that. There's just so many things to drop into this conversation that we could probably have this conversation for half a day and still be coming up with, oh yeah, I forgot we do that. Yeah, we do that. So I think the takeaway is that it's not one thing. It's, we have to meet these families where they want to be met. For some people, it's an obituary that you can click and it reads the obituary to you for some funeral homes. So there's all kinds of crazy technology, and we're just at the very tip of it.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. I think the idea that we could really spend, in future episodes, we could really break down the various channels and really take a deep dive on the various channels. I think there's a lot to be learned and a lot to be shared with our listeners and our viewers. So one thing that I was thinking about is just our research shows within our company that the average funeral home probably spends 1% to 2% of revenue on marketing. What's the number that you guys think is the right number to spend on marketing as a percentage of your revenue?
Golly, that's probably pretty close. I was putting just a dollar amount on it, not doing a percentage. There's one guy.
We have to pause the tape here and let Jimmy get his calculator out.
Carry the one. I need to take my shoes off. When we talk about that, I immediately go to these two guys do a great job, but I think of Dan up in Michigan, and he does such a great job on his advertising. You guys know Dan and what he spends, and he's very focused on how they do their advertising. So Michigan Memorial, check it out if you're listening to this and want a good example other than these two guys that do a great job at their place. But he's very
Jimmy,
calculated.
How many people do you have sponsoring you now? You mentioned Dan. You get $20 from him too, or what?
Yep, $20, and there's in kind repayment.
Yeah. You guys, Gary or Matt, do you have any thoughts on that number? I know I kind of sprung it on you here. I was just trying to see.
I've heard percentages recommended in the past. I personally just think you probably should be spending more than you're comfortable spending. You probably should be looking at it and say, wow, that's more dollars than I want to, but I need to do it, and I need to do it for a period of time to make sure it gets seen. So you don't just say, I'm going to, I don't know, like if you look at TV and as an example, if someone wanted to be on TV, you're not going to buy one spot on the 6 o'clock news for October. It's not going to make sense. You have to come up with a campaign and say it's over a period of time, and it's going to cost money. And I think Gary may be the one that always quotes the guy. I can't remember who said it. Maybe it's our friend Kevin, but I know half my advertising works. I just don't know which half. So, and I can't remember who the origin of the quote is, but I think there's a lot of truth in that too. When you look at stuff and you're, just last night, someone sent me a picture he took or he got on his phone of a placemat ad that I had at a restaurant. He doesn't live in that market. He doesn't live in that town. He happened to be going through, he ate there, he saw it, took a picture, sent it to me. And then I'm like, well, people see it apparently, and like, is someone going to scan a QR code on it and get a download pre-need guide? probably not, maybe not, but it's one more time that they see your name, your logo, your brand, and that top of mind awareness. So some stuff's expensive and some stuff's cheap. You add it all together and it's a lot, but I think it's important to do it.
And I think you got to take into account too what you're, I think Gary said it. We have all these partners around us helping us on these, our pre-need partners, and they're spending a lot of dollars on outreach on our behalf, right? So I think when you're budgeting your advertising, taking a look at what that looks like completely, including your partnerships contributions to our efforts to serve the communities that we're in.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Gary, do you have a thought on
well, I would give you a percentage, but it's a little murky because if you take just the revenue of the funeral home, we're probably spending between 7 and 9% of our revenue on marketing. But we also spend money at the cemetery for the events, which is to generate engagement. And the marketing budget promotes both the funeral home and the cemetery. So if you added the cemetery's revenue on top of it, you're talking about more like 5%. So again, the question of what he uses as the denominator is a little murky there, but we're spending somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million a year on outreach and marketing, and we're about a $20 million a year company. So, orders of magnitude.
Advertising and public relations were 4.3% in 2024 for us.
Yeah. Okay. And if you use the overall thing, it'd be 5% for us. And, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that doesn't include
I'm the guy that says no all the time because you can't track what Matt was saying. Hey, it's all anecdotal. Your brand building and all that stuff. So I'm the biggest skeptic, but we actually increased our marketing budget 2 years ago because nobody else in our market's really doing any marketing, and we're moving market share that way.
Yeah, that's good stuff, because I was going to throw out there, I think most of my experience shows that most funeral homes could double or triple their marketing budget and see great benefit from doing that. And, and so I think we have to, I just wanted to throw that number out there. I think that's a benchmark. If you're spending a 1% to 2%, your average, in my opinion, in a below average spend as compared to other industries. I think when you get into other industries or other professions, that 6 to 8% number becomes very common. And, so when we're kicking around 1% to 2% in funeral service, this idea that, well, people know where we are, they know what we do. We don't have to share our story. I think they're leaving opportunity on the table in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that number, I was just looking it up because I'm kind of a data nerd, so it's all here, and I was just looking. Now I'm going deep diving, like that number doesn't include what the advertising cost from our pre-need partner is, so I would need to back that in. Those are just my costs.
Neither do I.
Yeah, so you're probably going to add a % or two just to that.
For sure.
Number.
Yeah. It's like close to $400,000.
Yeah. So awesome. Hey, I'd like to shift the discussion to websites, and I think it's the website is I drive by a lot of funeral homes, and I'd say that 99% of funeral homes make sure that their lawn is mowed when you drive by. There's no trash laying around. I mean, the place is immaculate. And that's the consumer's first impression. But I'd propose that in today's world, the consumer's first impression of your funeral home is not driving by it. It is going to be online. And the question I was going to throw out there is, what is your impression of the average funeral home's website? Let's get honest here. And why do we settle for websites that aren't effective?
Oh, this is going to get really catty amongst funeral directors, I can tell you, because we are so judgy about each other's websites. Oh my God, did you see that free site they're using? Oh
yeah. Who wants to take a deep dive?
I'll start. I'll be most of them are cookie cutter, pedestrian. The emphasis is on our family has served this community since 1852, and we're the 5th generation, and nobody cares. We used to do that. Yeah. We used to. Spring Grove's been here 175 years. Who cares? You got to get off that and get back to what Matt was talking about, which is offerings and things like that. Doug Gober has a great presentation he gives down at the U about
Yeah.
some of the marketing. And my favorite one is the one he puts up. I think it's a newspaper ad they've been running for 20 years. And he said, I know the owners. It's a husband and wife. They look like they were embalmed in 1978. And they've been using the same ad for a decade. So in general, technology and funeral directors don't tend to mix very well. They don't tend to be technologically aware. And so therefore they don't value it. But you're absolutely right. If you go online to a funeral home and the picture in the background behind the two proprietors is a black and white shot of the funeral home in 1975, you're going to turn people off left and right. It's because that doesn't matter to people anymore. So having something that's engaging, having something that looks modern, that looks like you didn't do it and you didn't put it together in 2000 or 1995. I think it really is the first impression, as you said, Todd, of what your organization stands for. And if you've got something that's rooted in the 1970s or 80s, the consumer's going to react that way. Yeah.
And what's your call to action? It needs to be a dynamic website. What's your call to action? We all know that when people go to your website, 90% of them are looking for an obituary. But so while they're there, if they're not also looking for a funeral home, what's your call to action? Is it easy for them to call? Is it easy for them to get a free planning guide? Is it easy for them to a death has occurred and that information is spot on and locked in? And then when they engage you, how quick are you able to respond to it? Is it going into an email system that you only check on Thursdays, or is that going to someone's phone in the middle of the night? That's important.
Yeah. Matt, what are your thoughts on the state of funeral service websites as a whole?
It's just the same as the state of funeral service as a whole. I mean, we got some excellent ones, and we have some that need some help, and we have some that don't exist. I mean, it boggles my mind sometimes that there are still establishments out there that don't have a website. Like it's just crazy to me. There are times where we'll have a death out of state, and it's like, well, who's in that market? Who's in that town? You'll pull up the 3 websites, and I'll tell you, I mean, I'm looking at online reviews and I'm looking at websites when I'm making my decisions about who I'm going to be working with myself, to be taking care of the client families that we work with. So, I think there's a lot of people that look at it as maybe set it and forget it and it's done. There's a lot of websites out there with just stock template language in there. When we do celebrant training, there's a screen that we read off a page about personalizing services. And I always give the disclaimer that if people Google the text and it pops up, or they find it on their own website, not to be offended because it's on 1,000 different websites across the country, because one of the providers wrote the stock template 10 years ago, and now that they're on their 3rd website platform, but they just converted the site over 3 times, and it's there as well as it is at 10 other places. So,
a great point. You have to get in there and optimize your site, or it doesn't matter how great it is. To Matt's point, if you're Googling and then there's 500 different websites across the country that you chose not to change a piece of about us or whatever, it's for naught.
I mean, there's so many companies have a why choose me page that doesn't give any good reason why to choose them. I mean,
I really like to use baileycares.com when I'm talking about funeral service websites.
Is that why you post your family's obituaries on our pages?
I do. I really like to get that little extra for the families here in Texas from the ones in Connecticut. So thank you for boosting our web presence, Mr. Bailey.
I said to Jimmy, he needs to advertise in Colorado, because I was just in Colorado a couple weeks ago, and every single person behind me in line, anywhere I went, was from Fort Worth. Like all of them. Like you need a geofence.
It's hot here, man.
That place. I know. That's what they were all saying. They're like, it's 199 back home.
I was having dinner with John Horan in Colorado 3 weeks ago too. It's like, it's too hot to be here. I'm going to Colorado.
Yes, yeah, it's an interesting discussion. We have a saying around our office here that most websites, and and I think we're all just the heart here is good. We're trying to let funeral directors know that they really need to take their website seriously. There are consequences for not doing that, and so our little catchphrase around here is: don't be a website where families' interest in your business goes to die.
That's
Right.
true.
And a little play on words, we like to pat ourselves on the back for that. But the idea is when they come to your website, what's going to draw them in, attract them, keep them. Jimmy, your point, calls to action. And then, like, who's the hero of the website? Are you making your business the hero of the website, or are you making the family the hero in the website and inviting them into your story? I'm going to just throw this book recommendation out to the funeral service community: is you go get Donald Miller's book right now that talks about the web. He has a great book on digital marketing called "Building a Story Brand," and that
Easy for
"Building
you
a
to say.
Story Brand" book is outstanding. There's a guy named Harry Beckwith. I got his book right on my desk. He called The Invisible Promise. He's an expert on marketing intangible services, right? And nothing's really more intangible than, like, Jimmy, to your point, a pre-need, right? You're not going to you experience some benefit while you're living for having your pre-need, but most of that benefit will be experienced by your family, or that by that person's family. So a couple of resources out there. We just don't want to talk about things and then not provide some resources. So those are a couple of ways. And then hire a professional, right? I mean, why not? Get someone who knows this and spend a little bit of money on it, and the return will be there. So, hey, but one thing I wanted to talk about is: do you have a campaign or a idea or a project that you, when it comes to marketing or lead generation, that you launched and was a complete failure?
Wow.
Jimmy's thinking about which one do I go through.
I know. I'm like, hang on. Let me think of. Yeah. Yes. But I'm trying to think of. You should have sent that to me. I would have had a really good one before this. Of course, anybody that says that they tried something that they didn't fail at's lying to you, or they're just not trying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm
just throwing that out there. We can, if we have no responses, we'll just edit that question out.
So no, do you remember? So you go back and you remember when the advertising was, the guy would come by and they're like, if you take, this is a big refrigerator magnet and you can write on it, and it's the to-do list and the local doctors and the poison control, and it has the funeral home logo. Your funeral home will be on everybody, thousands of refrigerators throughout the community. And I remember we did that like 25 years ago, and I was thinking, this is so stupid. I mean, but things have changed.
Your funeral home name is associated directly with the poison control centers.
Poison control, like anything, like local non-emergency phone number, and it was like, the optics on that, I don't know.
I think that we stayed in the yellow pages longer than we should have.
Sure. Every funeral home in America stayed in the yellow pages.
When I look at those marketing dollars and that, I remember, I think it was the last year we did it, and the guy came in, and the year before, he told me how his wife was advertising in the yellow pages, and I asked him, did she renew? And he was like, no, she didn't, Matt. and then because they were giving away deals that were crazy towards the end there too. And I bought the back cover of like the big regional directory, and he was like all happy. But I said to him, like, you want to know why I bought that? And he's like, why? And I said, because my hope is that as people pick that up off their front doorstep and toss it in the recycling bin, they see my ad in the back as the only thing they see before they throw the whole thing away.
Oh, wow.
He just kind of gave me a nod and was like, appreciate that. It's like, I'm telling you the truth. And that was, I think, our last year. But
Gary wants to explain to our millennial funeral directors what a phone book is. That would be a really interesting.
It was about this. It had numbers in it, and I think it goes back to, this is a hard question to answer because it goes back to what Matt said: is 50% of my marketing is working, but I don't know which 50%. I mean, we've tried radio, we've tried billboards, we've tried TV, we've tried online digital stuff. The one thing I like best about the digital marketing is you can track at least you get an idea of whether you're engaging with the public or not,
Yeah.
as opposed to just brand building or name recognition, that kind of stuff. It's really hard to know how effective that really is. And the challenge, I think, for the profession, this is more true for cemeteries than it is for funeral homes, is that you're trying to market to people, and it's the least frequent purchase. And most of the time, that when they decide to pre-plan, is they've been touched by death in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a sibling, whether it's a parent, whether it's a friend that passed away. And usually it's driven by, if it's a couple, it's the woman going, we really need to get this done. Women are more planners than men are. And so the other thing you can work on is life events. You retire from work, those kinds of things, major changes in life tend to get people off the fence. And the other thing that we've learned is that is getting in front of somebody who's just had a loss. We always worried about being, not offending them or not, getting in the way of their grief cycle. But the fact is, if you don't get back in front of them in 4 to 6 weeks is the longest you should wait to reach out to them again. It fades. The pain and the reality of that death fades, and then it gets back to, well, I'll do it someday. When it's still fresh in their minds, and we pay for, we have an aftercare program, but we also pay for grief counseling programs, group grief counseling programs that we offer to anybody. They don't even have to have used our funeral home or our cemetery. If they're having an issue, I think it's once a month at our main location and once a month out at our northern location. We offer a free grief counseling group that we pay for. We actually pay for it out of the recycling funds from our retort. It's funded completely out of that. And it's a way to build connections in the community, but it's also a reason to reach out to somebody. And a lot of times, the easiest person to sell is the spouse of somebody who just passed away, right? It's fresh, it's painful. And the sad part is a lot of independent funeral homes won't do it. They don't like doing pre-need. And if you want to pre-need with them, you got to walk in with a revolver and say, you're going to give me the same thing you gave my husband, right? Because they don't want to do it because they don't want to take the risk. And we're the opposite. We have a very proactive pre-need program because we think in the long term, we have a better offering than a lot of our competitors do in terms of breadth of what we can do in different facilities. And if you can get in front of them and talk to them in a pre-need mode where there isn't that pain, it's more of a business transaction as opposed to an emotional one. If they got to pick a funeral home because dad just passed away from COPD or whatever, chances are they're going to say, okay, who did we use last time? Whereas if we can get in front of them and say, look, this is all the different stuff that we offer that other firms don't, it makes it easier for them to say, yeah, we're going to go with Spring Grove as opposed to the funeral home we've always used before. So two different concepts there, but I think both are important.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. So, hey, let's do this. We're coming to the near the end of our time here, and I think,
shucks.
Yeah, that went.
Come on, I was just about to. I just thought of a big blunder that's pertinent.
Oh, good.
Well, now we're gonna extend this podcast. So, all right, Jimmy, you have a blunder to share.
So it was when we first started doing lunch and learns, and I was talking to Tom Antrim or somebody about like some ideas, and it was like you may not know this about me, but I like wine, and so I'm like, wine and peace of mind. And so it was in the very beginning, and we weren't doing a really good job of how do we reach people, and we rented this beautiful place and had all this stuff and spent a lot of money to get people there, and nobody showed up.
Ooh.
Nobody showed up.
Wow.
And I just remember we've come a long ways. I mean, we're doing a lot of lunch and learns, very successful now, but I was thinking, wow, what a bust that was. It was a beautiful picture. I got from the advanced funeral planner was there, and I was like, man. And so just learning, talk about swing and missing, but thinking about that time to where we are now, like we had an event last week and we had 30 people show up.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, you take what you learn from your failures, and if you're not doing better the next time, then you really didn't get it. So and it's okay to try something 9 times. Oh, that's my joke. So I'll try something 9 times.
You plagiaristic son of a.
I used to say I'll try anything 3 times, and then Matt went up me, so now I've totally took it from Bailey.
You stole it.
Well, and one comment that I'm going to steal somebody else's quotes, Mark Krause, which I thought is really enlightening. He said, when he is thoroughly sick of seeing his ad on TV, he knows it's starting to work.
That's right.
That is the truth.
It's the repetition is so critical, and I've seen that ad X number of times. Well, the fact is the consumer probably isn't paying attention, but the 7th or 8th time they see it, they go, "Wait a minute, I've seen that before. What is that?
Who is that? Who is that young German man?"
Well, yeah. No, that's a great point, because I think it's one of the mistakes funeral directors make as we wrap up here is that they think that because they don't like it that someone else might not, or because they like something everyone will like it, and we all get sick of hearing our own message over and over, but the consumer's not hearing it as frequently as we are. And then I think back, because I think we also find this crazy way to divorce ourselves from the way we take the way that we shop and divorce ourselves from the way consumers shop. I mean, how many childhood commercials can you remember? Hold the pickles, hold the lettuce, special orders, don't upset us. And it's like, well, marketing doesn't work, but you guys all went back to a place and a time, when you hear something like that. So, that's where the repetition is super key. I think we should leave with that to say, hey, think about spending more on marketing. And you will eventually, right, Jimmy, figure out which half works, and Matt, or will figure out which half works.
No, you won't.
Or maybe not. Yeah, or you won't. But you could. Well, let's just say you can have hope that you will figure out a few things, but you'll learn from your mistakes. And keep your website. Take a fresh look at your website. You need to go to your website like you're a family. And not like a funeral director wondering what the competition's up to. So with that, I'd like to say this. Great insight today. I think this is some things that we can build on in future episodes. Man, there's so many ways to peel this onion. Looking forward to that. And I just want to say to our listeners, thanks for listening to the Graveyard Shift. We're having a lot of fun doing this. But we also appreciate the work of the funeral service community. I mean, what we do is important. We are doing a great work, and let's keep that up. And please send us some of your thoughts and comments to the graveyardshift@passari.com. And just a couple things to keep in mind. Put something to use today that you learn. Put something to use. Or if you're doing something you need to stop doing, like your Yellow Page advertising, do that too.
Do one more year just to be sure.
Yeah, one more year.
Just to be
one more year. And I'd just like to say this: hey, don't keep us a secret. We really are trying to do our best to provide value for the funeral service community out there. So again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next episode.